Hello and welcome to the Discover Virginia Beach podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Trahan, your tour guide to the Virginia Beach area. If this is your first time listening, I am so glad you found this show. Each week, I publish a new interview with locals ranging from musicians, government officials, CEOs, artists, and much more. And my aim is simple. It's to help you discover, define, and then go out and do exactly what you're looking for during your next vacation, relocation, or outing to the Virginia Beach area. And if you're looking to join in on the conversation, take part in monthly giveaways, and get your hands on my custom event calendars, head on over to Facebook and send me a friend request. That's Joseph Trahan. And check out my Facebook group of nearly 50,000 fans of the Virginia Beach area. Don't worry about writing anything down. The links for each episode, along with the Facebook groups, will be in the description below and also in the show notes. All right, here's the show. Hello and welcome back to the Discover Virginia Beach podcast. Today I'm joined by Bryan Hopkins. He is a bird whisperer, an outdoor enthusiast, a fan of Buckee's, and the owner of Gokayak. With over 20 years of experience surfing, kayaking the local waters of Virginia Beach, and all of his years of experience, he is a go-to resource for experiencing the great outdoors and is an excellent tour guide. Bryan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, so I understand you grew up in the Virginia Beach area. I would love to kind of see what type of activities did you enjoy doing while you were growing up in the outdoors?
Everything. I mean, it's something as simple as just going for a walk. I mean, just being outside. I don't even need a nice day to do it either. It doesn't have to be perfect sunny skies like it is today. I mean, just going outside and getting fresh air and moving your body around, but growing up, surfing, hiking, biking, playing tennis, just, generally being outside and exploring.
I love that. Do you have any favorite spots you enjoyed playing specifically or just hanging out growing up as a kid?
Yeah, as a kid, I would spend a lot of time in First Landing State Park, which, back then it was called Seashore State Park. And a lot of locals still refer to it as Seashore, but I spent a lot of time back in Seashore State Park, in Sandbridge and Back Bay, even False Cape State Park, which is, I believe, the least visited state park in Virginia, not the easiest place to get to. So, yeah, places like that where you can kind of get lost and explore and just immerse yourself in the surroundings of nature, really.
I love that. That's really a great highlighting feature of Virginia Beach is just how versatile it is. It's no wonder you stuck around, but I'm curious for you specifically, Bryan, were there any main features or things that you looked at when you were considering, okay, now I've grown up, do I want to stay here and build a business, or what got you to stick around?
Yeah, well, I never really had any big reason to leave. A lot of people leave Virginia Beach and they have some job opportunities or they just, feel the urge to move somewhere new. And I never really, really had that inkling. So I always enjoyed living in Virginia Beach. I still do. And I've traveled quite a bit. And when it's time to come home from wherever I'm traveling, I look forward to coming home to Virginia Beach. It's a good place to return to. So it's certainly not something you dread when it's time to go back to Virginia Beach. I've always looked forward to it. But, keeping me around here, old university after graduated high school, and I spent some time in the area doing different jobs. Worked for a government contractor over at the shipyard for a while, and started working for the Standing family down at the ocean front at Waterman's. A lot of people know Waterman's in Virginia Beach. Absolutely. And then so coming from that kind of tourism seasonal type background, working at Waterman's for a long time, people would always ask me, what's fun to do around here? What's fun to do around here? And I would always give them various answers. But then, the more you hear that question, the more you keep thinking of what's fun to do around here. And I decided to, create a business to answer that question, which is, sharing what I love to do with other people, which is exploring nature and looking for life. And, going kayaking and seeing dolphins and bald eagles and ospreys and all of that was something I was doing anyway. And I started taking my family out, like, hey, let me show you these dolphins. Let's go for a kayak out in, out in the ocean or out in the bay. And I would take my brother, I would take my mom. Um, and then I started realizing, like, hey, this is what's fun to do around here. So yeah, that's kind of how Go Kayak was born.
I love that. And speaking back to what in a lot of ways, before cell phones and computers can be seen like a simpler time for many people. I'm curious for you, Bryan, growing up in an environment, with Virginia Beach kind of in its growth years, and seeing all the changes that have come about, since, the HRBT expansion and everything with the downtown tunnels and just the accessibility overall. Have there been any key principles or ideas that you've kept that have really helped shape and form the way in which you view the community, and, of course, your business as a whole?
Hmm. Well, I don't know. That question, paired with the preface of the HRBT, is one of my main goals has always been to avoid traffic as much as possible. So I like I like not spending too much time in the car and stuck in traffic. So as much time as I can still have to myself to be outside and doing things I like to do, like surfing and kayaking and hiking and all that. But main principles, I guess, is just to kind of stay true to what I feel is best for me. Yeah, and yeah, Virginia Beach is my home, so I've always enjoyed exploring the different facets of it. But yeah, trying not to spend too much time in traffic, I guess.
I totally get that, especially with all the many projects that they have going on. Now, I'd love to jump into Go Kayak because that's, obviously what you're very passionate about, and that's kind of was born out of a hobby, and of course your
Mhm.
inspiration for wildlife in general. Would you tell us a little bit about Go Kayak, where it's located, and then what unique experience you offer to your guests that book tours with you?
Yeah, so Go Kayak, we do all by reservation. We operate from April to October. So the warm months, the warmer months. So spring to early fall. Right now we do our tours up at Lynnhaven Inlet, Lesnar Bridge. The Lynnhaven boat ramp. You have Crab Creek kayak launch right over there. So all of our guests book reservations with us for their tours, and we do these in time slots throughout the day, 7 days a week in the on season. And we meet our guests there, and they're all set up and ready. When the guests arrive, they're completely outfitted and ready to launch. So there's, kayaks, seats, paddles, life vests, tour guide, everything you need. Yeah, and what we do is, we want to give people a piece of Virginia Beach that they might not get if they just sat on the beach or hung out in the boardwalk area. The boardwalk area is great, but it's 2.5 miles long, that stretch of boardwalk where the hotels and the restaurants are. So we have like 35 miles or so of coastline in Virginia Beach. There's a lot to explore. So our mission is to kind of enrich people from out of town that are visiting with a little bit of the history, the uniqueness of the ecosystem, and some details that they wouldn't otherwise get, maybe just coming back and forth from the hotel to the beach. So we can get you out there and tell you all about the bald eagles, tell you all about the dolphins, and tell you about the history that we have around here, because we have a lot of history in Virginia Beach with the Cape, the first landing settlers, the Native Americans. So we like to really put a personal touch on it. All of our tour guides, myself included, we're seasoned tour guides that aren't just looking to kind of start paddling and never look back. We're going to be right there with you, getting to
Right.
know you, and making a personal connection with all of our guests. It's very important to us, the hospitality aspect of it. We like to get to know people and where they're from, but also sharing Virginia Beach and all the different details with our guests. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that's our
I love that, Bryan. Are there any favorite stories or pieces of history that you like to share each and every time you go out on the water with your guests?
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, you have the first landing settlers, so, you have Cape Henry up there where the lighthouse is. And, in 1607, you had these three big wooden ships that arrived here. And that's why the park's called First Landing, to honor the history and the heritage of those settlers arriving. Um, so we always share the history of those first landing settlers. Those people arrived here, but then they moved on to settle Jamestown. So those are the same people that settled Jamestown. They came here and they made some notes and they made some maps and they explored the local waters, and then they moved on. So, Jamestown's a very famous place in history, and a lot of people, no matter where you're from, have heard of Jamestown. But a lot of people aren't aware that those same ships with those English settlers arrived to our beaches. And then, of course, prior to them, you had the Chesapeake Native Americans that were in Virginia Beach and all along the coastline here. Back where First Landing State Park is, there's a lot of history. And there's even 64 of those Chesapeake Native Americans buried in First Landing State Park. There's a marked grave you can walk up to and see. So, that history of the people that came here before us, I find very interesting, and always try to share that with people.
I love that. That's a wonderful story, especially one that not many people know about. Like First Landing is First Landing because that's where they kind of stopped before they went to Jamestown. So yeah, stick it to Williamsburg as much as we can. Like, yes, we have more history, whatever.
Yeah.
Brian,
Yeah.
When it comes to gear or snacks or, beaver nuggets or anything that folks need to potentially pack or not pack, is there a go-to list or checklist that you send beforehand so guests kind of understand, how to respect the waterways, how to, what types of beverages or food intake that's appropriate to take out with you on the water? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So, when people are making their reservation through our website, we have a portion, I think, on almost every page that talks about the responsible viewing practices of wild dolphins, which is something that's really, really important to us that we promote to all of our guests. And we put it right up front when you're on the website of, there's a responsible way about viewing wild Atlantic bottlenose dolphins. They're federally protected animals. So we have a link to this thing called Dolphin Smart where people can learn about this and have a chance to kind of get educated beforehand. But we're going to tell them about it on the tour as well, that, we have some practices, some best viewing practices of being responsible when we go to see some dolphins. And there's a lot of details to that stuff. But other than that, yeah, people get an email when they make a booking with us that says, you're going to be out in the sun, bring some sunscreen, a hat and some sunglasses is good. Wearing outdoor active wear that you don't mind getting a little bit wet in, because we're going to get a little wet. You probably won't get drenched away, but when you're going outside on the water, you can expect to get a little wet. But other than that, our philosophy when we go kayaking, and we tell a lot of our guests this, is less is more. You don't really need a lot out there, and that's one of the beauties of going kayaking or kind of going off on a 2-hour excursion. It's not like we're going camping for days on end or going out all day. It's a 2-hour long tour. You don't really need much. It's a good opportunity to set the keys aside, put your cell phone away. So less is more, really. A lot of times people bring a water bottle or something. Maybe they're going to go to, lunch or dinner after the tour. So, we're not going to stop and have a picnic, really. 2 hours long, you don't need much. I think less is more is my philosophy.
I really appreciate you sharing that, Brian, especially with all the different events that happen in and around Virginia Beach for our tourists who are, maybe not familiar with the area. A lot of folks ask me, what do I need to pack? What do I need to plan for? So I really appreciate you sharing that. Less is more. Bring something to cover your face and some water. You're all set. For you, Brian, are there any key moments of growth that you've seen in your business, and have there been any major shifts in your strategy or focus throughout the time you've worked with and been owning Gokayak?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. We used to do our tours over the inlet, and actually go out into the ocean via Rudy Inlet. And then for a few years, we were doing tours in Broad Bay back in First Landing State Park from 64th Street. And now the last couple of years, we've been up at Lynnhaven Inlet, um, and accessing those interior waters of Lynnhaven Bay and the Chesapeake Bay. And, we're always trying to adjust to make things more user friendly for our guests and for our tour guides too. I think sometimes less paddling, more wildlife is good. You don't want to have to paddle 5 miles to see a bald eagle. It'd be cool if you could just paddle a little bit and have a bald eagle
Right.
fly past you. So we always try to kind of tweak the tour with, you know, making the experience as user friendly as possible for our guests. And that's why we've changed locations a few times, just because we notice as we paddle the various waterways around here that, hey, maybe this place is going to be is going to offer some better chances for wildlife and some easier paddling experiences for us and our guests, given the various conditions that we are always adjusting to with wind and things like that. Yeah, and then as far as growth goes, I mean, I think as the years have gone on, I kind of learned how to to operate the business better, to make it a better experience for other people, to be more visible to the people that are searching for us before they get to town. And that stuff certainly helps. I did notice in the 2020 era, 2020, 2021, those years, that things really perked up for us, and being an outdoor activity when so many things were closed indoors and you needed to be outside and you needed to be, separated from one another, that kayaking was like top of the list for a lot of people because they were outdoors, they were getting exercise and sunlight, and they were still, you know, at a safe distance from other people, being naturally in their own kayaks. So, and people were in a different pattern during that time too. Kids were out of school, they were going to school on their computers. The parents were working from their computers, they weren't going to the office. So we had this influx of families in the month of April, because people weren't tied to their desk at home, or the kids didn't have to go to school. So they were like, let's go to Virginia Beach and I'll work from the hotel. You can go to school on your computer.
Right.
And I mean, couple of those early springs, it felt like summer already because people didn't have to wait to go on vacation. So I noticed a little bit of a bump up in the business during that time.
Well, Bryan, that's incredible. Oh, I think we lost him. Let me pause this here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bryan. Well, I really appreciate you sharing that, especially, the type of service you offer is very community and family and, group focused, right? You don't, and of course for individuals too, they can go kayaking, but it's a great way to kind of connect people with nature. And as you mentioned before, the way in which you've adjusted your tours really, reflects just how, seasons can change for people, with the lockdown and stuff. And then also with nature, I mean, dolphins move, right? Bald eagles migrate. They kind
Yeah.
of change where they're living, where they're eating, and just being able to fluctuate is really cool. For you, your commitment, to being a responsible dolphin viewing and conservation is commendable. How has the focus on community and also being respectful to the environment, how has that shaped Gokayak's business practices in general, and also if there are any specific examples you want to share as well?
Yeah, well, I think you share those philosophies with the people that are visiting, maybe from out of town, or even, we have a lot of locals that do the tours too, but trying to impart those philosophies that we carry with us out on the water and in our community to the people that do the tours with us, and that's basically leave it better than you found it. So if we're paddling along and you see something floating in the water that doesn't belong there, you pick it up. We don't just paddle past it. So, you see a piece of plastic, you see a piece of, a potato chip bag, something that fell in the water, we're going to pick it up. So we leave it better than we found it. And then, of course, telling people about the wildlife. And, when you see a dolphin in the water, I think people's natural reaction is you want to be as close to it as possible, and if you
Sure.
could hug it and kiss it, then you probably would. But that's not a thing. That's something that's you see in pictures and SeaWorld or somewhere in another country. But in the United States, dolphins are federally protected. So we're always trying to kind of make sure people know that once we see dolphins, we're going to go into neutral, we're going to float, and we're going to respect space. We're going to let dolphins approach us, not us approach them. So, trying to just impart those best practices, whether it's leaving it better than you found it, or the best way to conduct yourself when you're around a wild animal or a federally protected animal, being respectful to the environment and the creatures in it.
Yeah, and can you talk about Gokayak's involvement in community initiatives like Save the Bay Day and how you contribute to the local community in general?
Yeah, we volunteered for Save the Bay Day. I think we've donated our kayaks to the event a couple times where it gave people the opportunity to that were volunteering to get out on the water and get into the little nooks and crannies of the various waterways where they could go where they otherwise couldn't to find things to clean up. I think that happens in June every year. I'm trying to remember what weekend it is, but yeah, participating in things like that are important to us because, a lot of people are surviving in and around the Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake Bay has been a big resource for many, many generations, and it's a big source of the economy for Virginia Beach, that's for sure. But, Chesapeake Bay is an enormous body of water. I think it touches 6 different states. So, yeah, it's important to us to be involved in stuff like that. And yeah, we've participated with that and done the cleanup from land and from water.
That is so cool. And Bryan, we really appreciate you doing that. And of course, staying involved in the community, practicing, what you, want to share with others that are important to you. Looking into the future, are there any goals, aspirations, or projects that you can share with us about maybe any future developments or things to be looking out for on the horizon as far as, your business and community involvement is concerned?
Yeah, I mean, I think just continuing to do what we're doing, to teach people about conservation, education about the ecosystem, best practices with wildlife. We want to continue to grow. I think we've been in business now, almost 8 years, and we plan on doing business forever. So, we're born and raised in Virginia Beach, myself, and our tour guides as well. The ones we have now are born and raised in Virginia Beach. So, we're local people that are interested in making people's vacation better, helping to make some lifetime memories with people, things that they can, keep in their hearts and their minds, and talk about when they're back home with their family, and then keep those dreams of vacation alive when it's wintertime back where people are living. They can't wait to come back to Virginia Beach because of the people that they met here. I think people make a big difference, whether you're going to a restaurant, a hotel, or wherever you go in life. It's like, if the product you got, say at a restaurant, if the food wasn't that good, but the people were nice, you're probably going to give it another try because you like the people. So, we always try to bring that Southern hospitality. And I think we'll continue to always try to refine ourselves to be the best we can be as tour guides, but make those relationships so people want to come back to Virginia Beach year after year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool, and very excited to to continue following along, especially as we get into the springtime of 2024 for next season. Until then, Bryan, thank you again for your time. We're going to be transitioning to our last section here because I know you got to get back to doing the books and getting ready for everything that tax season and winter season has in store for us business owners. Rapid fire section is up next. These questions are quick and fast. You're welcome to expand on these with as much or as little detail as you like. Are you ready?
All right, let's do it.
All righty. First question: favorite local bird species to watch?
Ospreys. They're migratory, but they're local sometimes. Ospreys.
Love it. Next one for you. Early morning or sunset kayak tours?
I like both, but our earliest tour is 9 a.m. It's a tough one. Yeah, I have people ask me that all the time. Let's go with sunset.
Sunset. Wonderful. What is 1 or 2 words to describe being out on the water?
Mm. Adventurous and peaceful.
Love it.
Could be both.
What is a what's a more memorable wildlife encounter while kayaking? Whether that's a dolphin, possibly a shark, or a bald eagle attack. Anything stand out to you as an interesting wildlife encounter that you've come across?
Man, there's a lot. There's a lot. Well, I was sitting in a kayak with some people in my kayak, and they were in theirs with a group of people on a tour. This is many years ago, sitting just outside of Rudy Inlet, and we could see it was in May too, and we could see a humpback whale coming from the south from the Croatan area, and we just sat there, and this whale kept, and it was splashing, and you could see the blow when it was breathing, and it just kept getting closer and closer, and we kind of backed away. We were like, wow, and this whale ended up swimming. The humpback whale swam right past us. I mean, I don't. It was far enough away because we had kind of moved backwards from the track that it was on to get out of its way. But I mean, I've seen a humpback whale from a kayak, and that was certainly very memorable.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I mean, I've seen bald eagles, come down from the trees with their talons out and just literally right in front of you, just put the landing gear down and just snatch a fish right out of the water. So graceful and powerful. You don't realize how big and powerful these bald eagles are until you really see them up close and in action.
Sure.
So I love seeing bald eagles, and I've seen them grab fish out of the water right in front of our tours quite a few times. But yeah, dolphin. There's a hundred dolphin stories, but every once in a while you get to see a dolphin do a full body breach, full just airborne out of the water. Looks like it's trained in a park somewhere, and there's been days where we've been in the kayaks and literally watched a 300-pound dolphin launch 8 feet out of the water over and over again.
Wow. Why do they do
Yeah, so
that? Why do they jump out of the water? Is it just for fun? Like, is it for because I know they're mammals, right? They have to breathe. How does that work? I'm not an expert on
yeah,
dolphins, but
yeah, definitely. They breathe the air up here with us. They have lungs in their body, gills like fish, and they got a nostril on their head, the blowhole. So yeah, they definitely got to come up here and breathe with us. I noticed dolphins like riding in waves. When there's waves out in the ocean, like the surfers are out, and there's dolphins riding in the waves too. So I see dolphins do things sometimes that, from what I've gathered and what I've seen, doesn't seem to have any other function other than having fun.
yeah,
'Cause I don't know that there's much function to riding a wave, other than maybe it's more efficient for them to swim, but it looks like they're just having fun. They're kind of moving towards the shoreline and they're launching out of the waves. It looks like a pure fun endeavor to me. But sometimes I think they're being playful with one another too, and a lot of times when there's bait and food around, they'll kind of have an elevated level of activity as well when they're chasing fish. And yeah, I mean, but I think sometimes it's maybe just fun.
that is really cool.
Yeah.
And definitely would encourage everyone to go check out the link in the description below for everything Bryan's got going on over at Gokayak. Bryan, last rapid fire question for you. What is your dream destination for kayaking outside of Virginia? So if you could go anywhere on a kayak tour or excursion, where would you like to go?
Yeah, maybe like the Galapagos,
Hmm.
Galapagos Islands. I think they're off of Ecuador, South America. I think that'd be it. Yeah. I mean, from what I understand, it's a very biodiverse place, just steeped with nature and just untouched settings, nature in its, purest form with a lot of wildlife. So I think I'd say Galapagos.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Hopefully you can get to do that sooner rather than later. Bryan, this has been a great conversation. Thank you again for your time. We really appreciate it. And of
Thank you.
course, yeah, absolutely. And of course, thank you to our dedicated listeners for checking out another episode of Discover Virginia Beach. We hope you have enjoyed this conversation. Be sure to hit that like button, whatever icons down the bottom left-hand side of your screen, or leave a comment or review if you were listening to the podcast episode. And we hope to catch you all in another episode. Talk to you then.